Hello and happy December 2019. This bitch is basically over. Forgive me for my plainness, I guess. I don't know that I'm mostly like ever wearing formal clothing, but I'm getting over something, so you're gonna have to be with me as I am. Which maybe is a theme going into December, because I'm using a new deck. It is the Art X-Men deck. It's really beautiful and holographic, so I hope that you can see the images well. And I haven't turned over the cards yet, so let's see what we're working with. Ooh, shit, son. Okay. So the energy in the beginning of the month starts off with the Concern card, which is here, the Hanged Man. Let's see if I can get you a good angle, though. Because, all right, you're just not going to see the glory of these cards in the night. I should have done it in the light of day where you could actually see the hologram, or maybe face the fire better so that you could have seen this. Anyway, it's the Hanged Man. You're just going to take my word for it, okay? Hanged Man is, or a hanged person, is a major arcana. Major arcana cards have to do with the spiritual purpose and the life purpose, not who am I, which is an intellectual question, but what am I here to do? What am I here to be? What is existence's relationship with me? And this is an ongoing, eternal conversation that we are constantly growing into, through, as, of, within. So Hanged Man, well, one, I'm not reading reversed right now, so that's just to be known about me. But with the hanged person, the Hanged Man, I really like this card, and it's actually been flipping over in a few decks that I've been using. And what I like about it is that it speaks a lot to trusting in the awkwardness of existence, and trusting in the awkwardness of where ideas and expectation meet what actually happens. Because I don't think, and I haven't looked it up before, to be honest, and I'm not going to do it right now, but I'm not exactly sure what the etymology is of the word awkward. And if you're new here, I'm called the Word Witch because I am an amateur but thorough etymology and philology researcher. So the word awkward, I don't necessarily think is foundationally negative. I think it speaks to discomfort, but discomfort's not always bad, right? Like when you're working a new muscle, the discomfort in the muscle is proof of effort. It's proof of work put in. It's proof of gains. It's proof of having done something. And so there are growing pains that are felt as awkwardness, but that are completely a part and parcel of what the order of things taking place is. It's like if you learn something new, there has to be by definition, an introduction. And that introduction, depending on whenever you finally find yourself fully present, can have a moment of awkwardness in it where you are suspended in time, thinking about all the possibilities that can respond to that time or react to that time. So what I mean by that is like the way that people judge or choose decisions based on their ideas is their at that time 360 scope of the choice, the idea, the circumstance, the truth. And then they're looking all around that to perceive the potential outcomes of that revelation or that revealing or of that sharing, right? So there is I think that what's nice about the hanged person is that there's the hanged person, unlike the fool, presumes an assumption. I think of the hanged person as the upper echelon, or like the higher version, higher embodiment of the fool. And I think it's because the hanged person does recognize things, recognizes that there's an order, recognizes actually a big picture scale thing, which the fool isn't really concerned with. The fool is getting that experiential knowledge, but the hanged person is getting the knowledge of wisdom. And so it's not simply about whether something is good or bad, but more so whether something is actually preference interesting, relevant to ourselves. And then if it's not, just simply being fine with parting with it. Because the hanged person is usually in impossible positions to the outsider, and yet in alignment, the hanged person is very much in equilibrium in that environment, because they are doing a 360 around the truth, the concern, the challenge, the problem, whatever. But their 360 has more dynamism because their equilibrium is not linear, right? So when I'm saying people are going around 360, when I was speaking about it in the past context, I meant it more like people choose within their limited perspective the bandwidth which they can conceive the possibilities of the future of their actions. And then, but that bandwidth can be very limiting depending on your ability to see the dimensions and to be dynamic. And so with the hanged person, what we find is they're more like a centrifugal motion, where they are sure going around in 360, but sometimes it's like this, and sometimes it's like this, and sometimes it's backwards, and sometimes it's forwards. So they have a greater perspective, a grander perspective of the possibilities, because they suspend their disbelief. Sorry, I was just trying to see if I could capture the light. Because they suspend their disbelief long enough to take into account what is actually happening, and from that they adjust their perspective. So this says to me as the concern card, it's like, I've been saying this, I think, for a little while, but like 2020 is going to be very, very intense. More intense than it has been, for the obvious reasons, in the country of the United States of North America, because we have an election, but also just like, people's intolerances, people's frustrations, people's inability to cope with the parameters, the circumstances, the pressures is really becoming very obvious in a way that it was so easy, or seemingly easy, to deny in the past. And so I think what the hanged person is here to sort of suggest is like, existence is happening regardless, and its pace is not going to ever be contingent on just your ass. So you got to like get with the program, but also find that movement, like find the dance in that, because the hanged person is agile and flexible, and they're a dancer, in my opinion. It's funny, they're usually suspended in water from a tree. In this case, they're suspended above the earth, but they are dancers. They're fluid. They're at home in movement, and that's why they're not surprised or offended by it. So I think that it's a time to get with it, and I think December is just setting you up for a year of more. And I've been saying, comparatively, if October was intense for you, 2020 is going to be like October plus 12, so I think that this card is really about being as you are, and then seeing that existence is not out to get you or to betray you, but that everybody is a part, and that it's about navigating the lines, the definitions, the ideas, the definitions between each of us, to really come into our equilibrium, our balance, our power, our center. Card number 2, our opportunity obstacle card, is the High Priestess card. Another major arcana, spiritual purpose, life purpose. We're talking about big things. We're talking about world affairs. We're talking about humanity. We're talking about earthhood, because maybe Pentacles also covers humanity, which it does, because I think it speaks of the environment, the social world, the physical world. But earthhood, meaning like what we've done here, not just us, but our species in interaction with everything else throughout time and space. Like I just was saying this to somebody the other day, but like I was saying, Pentacles represents ancestors being dead in the earth, or dead in the water, dead in the fire, dead in the air. And then I was like, well, I mean, I guess Earth itself is just us living literally on top of our ancestors. Like, they are in the earth. We are of the earth. We are on top of it. They are under it or in it. And so we are literally standing on everyone who's lived here. And, you know, to not be connected to that or to act like that there's no connection to that that's relevant is only useful if you can actually know how that is only true in a paradox. Because it's also like, yes, all time exists at once, so every moment that you experience is eternal because everything's already taken place. Existence is infinite, not subject to time. Not being subject to time, it squanders no time. Not squandering no time, it's efficient. So everything that's taken place has a place, and that place, because we're in an infinite existence, is infinite. And so there's something to be said about each moment standing, in a sense, by itself, even though it doesn't stand alone. And I think that's the real paradox. Let's see if I can get you there's a little light. The High Priestess. You see her glowing. Oh, there we go. I found an angle. So yeah, that's the High Priestess. And taking it back, that's the hanged person, the hanged man. So yeah, every moment stands in its sense independently on its own, but not outside of existence. So, excuse me, how I take that though is like the same way that we are in each individual in our perspective, the same way that we are each our own free will, our own perspective, our own being, our own section of existence, we are still a part of the infinite overall thing. So both and can be true. And why I think this is important for the High Priestess is because the High Priestess is also often speaking to intuitive knowledge. You know, I think especially in our human constructed world with its cis white heteropatriarchy and its supremacy ideation. Supremacy ideation is a word I coined to describe the most powerful supremacy ideations on Earth, which include classism, capitalism, sexism, patriarchy, racism, white supremacy, ableism, fat phobia, ageism, and queer phobia, queer phobia. And that does not exclude institutions like government or church, but those institutions are born from the individual collective decisions that then created these supremacist ideas that say this is how humanity is supposed to be, even though existence created all the humans that exist. So like everybody is a part of that. Everybody has a say. Everyone is valid in the argument of humanity, even though supremacy ideation says otherwise. So in an Earth like ours, intuition is remembering the greater picture, remembering the ultimate connectivity, that existence's nature is to exist, therefore that's all it can do. Non-existence is too busy not existing for you to know what the fuck it is, because you're in existence, so it's irrelevant to you, because all you can do is what existence does, which is exist, and, you know, persist and exist, change, exist, change. And so the eternal knowledge is that existence's nature is to exist, therefore that's all it can do, not being subject to time. It wastes no time, not wasting any time. It's completely efficient. Being completely efficient, it created everything within it. Creating everything within it, it makes no mistakes because it wastes no time, so everything's supposed to be here, including the fuck shit that we do. And so the High Priestess is this ultimate knowledge, but this knowledge should be, or can be, in my opinion, expansive, because it shows you that the difference is the focus of how we choose, the angle that we take on what we are trying to understand about our place here, and our place here being our place in existence, our place on Earth, our place in time and space. And so the High Priestess is to remember what made you, but also choose and know you are choosing that for yourself. And that there is no power outside of you deciding for you in this creation how you need to feel about it. and that any position that you take is your choice, free will being to love, to choose, and that being the God power that everyone seeks is to actually be okay with the fucking point that you are choosing, and that, you know, existence is here already and you're a part of it, and there's not much you can do about that in the argument department. So that's the one choice that you didn't make, that you exist. But now that you're here, you make all the other choices. So it's like, welcome to being a God. Not every decision is great just because you're powerful or your shit is cool to look at. So there's that. And then what we have is the advantage aversion card, because the opportunity obstacle card is like what outside of us is standing that we see as an opportunity or an obstacle. And the way things are, paradoxically, is what you can decide is hindering you or helping you. I've decided to choose that it helps me. And so for that reason, everything, even the shit I don't like, I have had to look at it in a new way and be like, okay, but what am I learning from this? What am I learning? What did I find out from this that I otherwise would not have known? And how can I pay that forward to myself? That way I'm using even my losses to gain something, but something that I actually want. So card number 3 is the advantage aversion card. What of our character works for us or against us? And we have here the 7 of Pentacles. You see this motherfucker in this fruitful ass yard, okay? When we come to terms with all that is, and that we are a part of it, and everything that we love and don't love is a part of it too, then we get to see what there really is for us, right? Because it doesn't actually matter if there are people who disagree with you. What matters is if you all think it matters, you know? So if you all just know that you're not going to agree on anything and you're cool with that, then you just keep it moving and speak on other things or relate in other ways or choose not to relate or go into realms or worlds where it makes more sense for you to participate without needing to oppress or limit anybody else. But when we are not okay with the fact that we have differences is when we get caught up and stop being ourselves because we're too busy trying to tell somebody how it is. And I think that, and I've said this before in readings, there is this assumption that if you live your truth and you get killed for it, it wasn't worth it. That motherfucker lived their truth. And that was what they did. Like, that's the whole job of being here. So that's not a loss. It's our loss. It's the living's loss to lose people who are authentic. The authentic just keep on being authentic in spirit and keep that shit pushing and remind you in spirit about their authenticity and drive you on. They still putting the motherfucking work in. So the 7 of Pentacles is really about like letting the garden grow. Like, what would the shit look like if you just let bygones be bygones? Because I think I was almost going to change this on this dating app I'm on. It says, what's your most controversial opinion? And it used to say for me, CC, I said nearly almost everything, CC Instagram. But I almost changed it today, and I guess maybe I will now. What's your most controversial opinion? My most controversial opinion is that you don't have to invalidate what you don't prefer. That's my most controversial opinion. You don't have to validate what you don't prefer, because people really want to just eradicate motherfucking shit they don't like. But, you know, just like the Tao says, if you don't like evil, get out of its way, meaning like don't see it as that, and it cannot respond to you as such. And even if it feels that it is, you don't receive it as evil. You receive it as however you have expanded that definition. And so evil is left with only its ignorance. Even if it takes you out, you have gained from it and it has lost. I mean, motherfucker, it was a sermon for you. So we got the Hangman, we got the High Priestess, and we got the 7 of Pentacles for December. Ultimately, it's spirit work, right? Pentacles is the work, the physical work, reaping what we sow. Finances, foundation, the environment, the body, putting the motherfucking time and space in. And then Major Arcana are spirit. So we're dealing with spirit work, but we're dealing with letting our spirit be itself, letting other spirits be themselves, and then doing the work of adjustment in between what those selves are constantly every time you interact with them. So I hope this closes out your December well, and that you keep on keeping on being authentic. Thanks, and see you in the year of our Savior, Harriet Tubman, 2020.